Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm so glad you're with us with Starman and me here to stay curious as we're floating around the Earth, actually, around the sun, Starman is. And we're going to talk about that on Stay Curious today. 6 years ago, can you believe the first Falcon Heavy was launched that long ago? I can't because I was here to see it, and we got some proof of it from Carlton Bailey's wonderful photography. Here is Starman, still orbiting the sun 6 years later, over 500 orbits, they said, of the sun. Not sure how that works out, but right there, or no, right there, don't panic. And that's what Marty said to me. We're going to put that up there, Mark, so you don't panic after my little incident with my high blood pressure on Friday. And again, I appreciate everybody concerned about me. And I'm at the doctor today, and they gave me a new pill. So I'm not going to panic, though. A lot going on today. Our great director, Karan Conklin, always springing surprises on me. And we had a bunch of British kids in here. Still have them in here, in fact, about looks like about 80 of them, 4 docents showing them around. And she pulls me in here to introduced me to the British education teachers. And of course, we're talking for an hour. My phone's going off over there. Just flip it over, Marty.
Can't find it.
Oh, can't find it? There it is. All right. It in the IRS, is it? Okay. If it is, throw that phone away. No, I'm good with the IRS. But anyway, sorry for the interruption there, but I'm going to take it easy. We've got some current events to talk about. How about this cool little treasure there? Yeah, my Hot Wheels Starman there, everybody. I'll bet if you don't have one, I'll bet you want one there. So Hot Wheels always does a cool job with the space stuff. I've got John Glenn and Hot Wheels. I've got the rovers, Galileo spacecraft. They do a good job with that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in today, but we also want to remind you that to literally keep our doors open here at the American Space Museum, we need your support. We're a humble nonprofit. Many ways you can give to us. We can be in your will. We can be on your PayPal account. But it's important that we make you all aware that we are a humble nonprofit here in Brevard County, and we are fully sustained by a few grants and the auctions that have been sustaining us, thanks to Chuck Jeffrey and his Bid Again auctions. Hopefully some of you bought some autographs at the auction that we had on Saturday online. I know John Borelli, you did. Thank you, sir. And John will be coming down here for Shuttle Fest, he said, on April 13th. So it'll be good to see John Borelli, one of our fans up there in the great state of New York. How can you give some money? Well, Winston Scott's showing you here. If you're watching YouTube, and of course, if you're watching YouTube, at the end of the broadcast or go to another broadcast, and there is a give thanks button at the bottom. And it's a sliding scale. There's the $20 scale right there. You hit that, buy and send, and we get $20 from you. And we're very happy for it. And thank you, Winston Scott, for supporting our museum. This is a button down at the bottom. It's not during the live feed, but you go back and look at any of the other feeds. There'll be a give thanks button there, a little $sign on it. And we're very happy to announce our good friend here, Jonathan Ward, with astronaut Eileen Collins. There's the book they wrote together, Through the Glass Ceiling to the Stars. Jonathan, we're so proud of you. This book is going to be turned into a documentary. I didn't bring all my notes with it to tell you who's doing the documentary, but I put it up on Facebook from our friends at Collect Space, one of the popular websites that you should be frequenting. So kudos to you, Jonathan, for this wonderful book of yours being turned into a documentary, and it couldn't be to a nicer person. Eileen Collins, our first female pilot, American, Russian, China, whatever. No one else has done it, period. Had women pilots and commanders, and we've got Eileen Collins, and Pam Melroy followed her footsteps, and Susan Kilran could have been a commander. She was twice a pilot. Can't wait to see her out at the Space Center, Marty. Susan Kilran's in the queue for the astronaut encounter out there. And Jonathan wrote a wonderful book called Bringing Columbia Home with Mike Leinbach. We talked about that when Mike did a question and answer session with us a week ago. Check that out on our YouTube archives. And we want to give a big shout out to these two veteran NASA astronauts. On the left is David Hilmers, and on the right is Marcia Ivins. They have been selected as the Hall of Fame recipients in 2024. The big party will be at the end of May out there at the Hilton on Cocoa Beach. Chris Calley, our good artist friend, he'll be there. We're looking forward to celebrating. I'm looking forward to just hanging around with Chris and sneaking in the back door, actually. The Scholarship Foundation is the ones that tout this event and choose the worthy astronauts of this. I believe there are over 100, Marty. We were at that event. I think it's about 103 astronauts now of our American 300 and some. And David Hilmers there flew 4 shuttle missions as a mission specialist. He was born in Clinton, Iowa, but considers DeWitt, Iowa, to be his hometown. Nevertheless, it's Iowa. Okay. This David Hilmers pulled this factoid out. 5 academic degrees. He is the second most formally educated U.S. astronaut. Who do you think would be the most educated U.S. astronaut, Marty? You got to...
I would have to say Story Musgrave.
You win. Bing, 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 bing. You win the dial-in for dollars. Story Musgrave has 6 doctorate degrees, believe it or not. And Marcia Ivins, we love her for her beautiful hair in space. Very petite lady. 5 space shuttle missions as a mission specialist. And we'll be talking about one of those of our shuttles of the month of February here in a few minutes. So congratulations to these two worthy American astronauts, Marcia Ivins and David Hilmers, headed for the Hall of Fame. That I love seeing those lucite impressions of the astronauts' faces around Alan Shepard's gorgeous statue. Didn't have time to throw that picture in. Visualize that, folks. Well, there's John Smith, our docent. Welcome back, John, to being docenting. He took a little break for a while, as most of them need a break. Here are British students. You see on their armband there, or their T-shirt, they've got the UK flag on there. Let me have a sip of clear my throat. John's talking about the food in space there in our Apollo gallery, and met some great people that are doing outreach for the Space Education Adventures of United Kingdom. And here I met these two gentlemen, Mike Grocott on the left and Richard Healy on the right, both educators, passionate, just like we are here. They brought these students in with a couple other teachers here that you're going to see on the left is Simon and Annabelle there with Mike. And you see some of our paraphernalia in our Apollo gallery there. Well, Simon, when he turned around in this picture, I said, I got to take some pictures of your tattoos. Look at these tattoos, those of you that enjoy them. Beautiful shuttle tattoo, a Saturn V rocket there, Marty. Very accurate. And then up on his arm a little bit more, he's got the command module and an astronaut. The visor shot, basically, is copied there with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin's helmet there. Space station. And I stopped there, Marty. I didn't ask him to take his shirt off. Marty asked me, where did he have a limb on there? I said he could have, but I didn't want him to take his shirt off to show me. But beautiful, beautiful tattoos for you that love them. Simon and Annabelle right there. Thank you for enjoying our space museum. They have been coming here before COVID, and this is one of the first trips back since that pandemic time there. So, well, there's a gorgeous shot that Carlton Bailey, our local photographer, been to more than about 700 launches, I think CB said he's tallied up there. But this was the inaugural flight of this Falcon Heavy that's become commonplace now. I think they've launched it 8 times. The side 2 rockets come back at the here at the landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Spaceport. They kind of kept them mated together, I think, on many of the Falcon Heavy launches. But up in the fairing up there on this beautiful blast off, we'll show you the fairing shot there in a minute. I like that one a lot, and I'll bet Carlton's perfectly positioned there, his remote camera. Inside is that big fairing is this tiny little sports car. Yep, that's a Tesla Roadster, the personal car of Elon Musk. He put a little character, a stuffed mannequin in there, and away it went. And I will never forget that launch. That was a beautiful day. Thought I had some notes on that. I must have set those aside. So we'll... And there is the Roadster as it was kept on top of the second stage. And all of that is orbiting the sun, between the Earth and the sun. And gorgeous pictures that were taken by a GoPro camera. Starman is listening to the David Bowie song Starman in one ear and Space Oddity in the other, though they're pretty sure the batteries all ran down. Why don't you put solar panels on it, Elon? I'd have loved to have a little power to that GoPro and get this shot every time it spun around the Earth and then back to the sun, but and then see how Starman deteriorated. Yes, there's an app for that, and a website. Just go, where's the Tesla Roadster, or where's Starman? Where's Starman, I think is the name of it. And there you see its orbit takes it around the sun, okay, so it's probably gone around about 6 times. And there is Starman. Don't panic, and I'm not. We're just cruising through this today. Of course, as you all notice here, I'm very fashionable. Marty gives the best Christmas presents, all right? You want a good Christmas present, get on our co-producer Marty's Christmas list. Thank you, Marty. Looks pretty good on me, doesn't it?
You're trimming down.
I'm trimming down, that's right. Okay, so next up is we got to celebrate what happens just 6 times a year, the moon landings of Apollo, all right? And I've already blocked 3 people this week that wanted to be conspiracy people on our Facebook. And I don't care about your own opinions, but we definitely do not want conspiracy moon people on our Facebook site where we celebrate our national treasures like Marty Winkle. That if we didn't go to the moon, then Marty and all those Grumman guys need to give us their money back, because taxpayers paid for that. But one of the things that you do say is we look at this beautiful panorama of Apollo 14 on the moon just for 2 days, February 5th and 6th, 1971. If we didn't go to the moon, how come the Russians aren't saying we went to the moon? All right, because we were in a race with them, and it's just silly that. Or I challenge you to tell a secret to somebody and see if they'll keep it. So how could over 250,000 people working on the Apollo project all keep the same secret? Just ridiculous. And there we have the 2 astronauts. You got one on the far right over there, no stripes on him, so that must be Edgar Mitchell. And the shadow is the commander, Alan Shepard. Look at how LEM number 8 kind of went in at an angle and slid in to this leg there in the foreground is buried pretty good, right next to a crater. And the Frau Mero Valley in the middle of the moon was a lot denser, deeper in the lunar regolith, they call it, or soil, much like a fluffy snow, one of those dry snows up there that Dave Stange knows too well up there in Michigan. And it caused problems with their mobility. They had to trudge through it. And you press people out there, this is how you were greeted, with a press badge. This is the Wizard of Id, Gary Hart's famous cartoon strip. And the king is pressing a media person probably on Apollo 14. Yes, they use Roman numerals. And just got to look at that again. How gorgeous is that? It just is amazing to me that I'm friends with Marty, and he's helped us produce this for over 980 episodes now, and he's very familiar with the whole lunar module there. There it is again, taken on the other side. When they landed on the moon, folks, they wanted it to be about like 8 o'clock in the morning with strong shadows, relating to 8 o'clock in the morning, or if the sun's going to set at 6, 7 o'clock tonight, like 6 o'clock in the evening when you have strong shadows, so you can see everything on landing. And boy, did Alan Shepard land this lunar module very accurately. He was within, they say, 150 feet of the target, and that's just incredible. Some of the facts here: the Antares lifted off from the moon a few hours ago in Earth history, 1:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They landed about 4 in the morning on February 5th, so they were on the moon's surface for about 27 hours, I think it is. The Antares was the code name, the call sign for the lunar module, and Kitty Hawk was the lunar module. And we'll see a picture of Kitty Hawk at the Kennedy Space Center Saturn V complex. Let's see here. The impact seismometers, when the ascent stage was jettisoned and impacted the moon, it set off waves of seismometers. Look at how they dug into that at the last minute and fluffed up the lunar soil right there over that pad. For the first time, let's see, what are the picture we got there? There's looking out one of those triangular windows, okay, looking at what the astronauts saw after they landed. Had to be very excited that everything was going to be as planned as far as their maps, because they landed right where they were supposed to. It was the first time a buddy secondary life support system was used, a set of flexible hoses, which would enable Shepard and Mitchell to share cooling water and oxygen should one of the PLSS, primary life support system, packs fail. Knowing that they couldn't distinguish the Apollo 12 astronauts very well in the photographs, who was who, they had to ask who took the photo. And Apollo 11 the same, though Neil Armstrong had the camera on 99% of the photos. They put these red stripes around Commander Alan Shepard's arms, thighs, and on the top of the helmet, and they still do that today at the International Space Station 53 years later to distinguish the spacewalking astronauts. Shepard and Mitchell shown here with a tether that I'm going to elaborate on in a minute. They had the first lunar Slurpees. They had water bags inserted in their helmets, allowing them to quench their thirst during EVAs, extravehicular activities. So this restored the confidence after the failure of Apollo 13 and the foiled lunar landing because of the oxygen tank blowing up on the command module. And the moon is in the morning sky, so you early morning risers will see it as a crescent. And though the area where they landed in is in the darkness now, you got to be thinking about these deceased astronauts. Alan Shepard, America's first astronaut in space, 15 minutes of suborbital flight, and Edgar Mitchell, his only space flight, and then Stu Rosa was orbiting the moon. And when they came back to Earth, they had parts of this lanyard there, and they cut it up. They didn't cut it up. Other people cut it up and put a piece of it on a business card size and a piece of paper and laminated it and then gave it to you. And on the back side, it says, "Thank you, Marty Winkle, for helping us go to the moon." This was carried to the surface of the moon 53 years ago. This is the one that we have in our display case here in our Apollo gallery. And if you are a collector, you want to own this. This is one of the holy grail things you want to have. There's usually plenty of them. Well, a few times a year they'll come up for auction, but expect to pay $700 to $1,000 for this little business card size piece of plastic that has a tether line, safety line that was carried on the surface of the moon. What was safety about it? Well, the astronauts attached that to their chest when they went down the ladder, so that if they accidentally slipped, they would catch themselves. And Not sure how that would work out dangling off of a tether. But of course, 1/6 gravity. Other tethers were used to pull out experiments, open up the side panels and such. Here's where they landed, the proof of it. There's the descent stage with the 4 legs. You see the arrows. You can actually see the astronauts' footprints where the Apollo Lunar Science Experiment package on the far left was deployed on the left. And Cone Crater up there at the upper right is where they tried to walk. They got so fatigued it took them too long. They were going uphill in like snow, like a foot deep of snow, but it was lunar soil. And they never did get to look inside the lunar crater. But our Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter did, and has given you the proof there. And when you look at the full moon, just look to a little bit to the left of it. That's where Fra Mauro Valley is. Little side note story. I told a little bit, always tell this about Apollo 14. There's the official patch on the left with the astronaut pin soaring from the Earth, from the moon, with the astronauts' names on it. Well, the joke patch by Cernan Evans and Joe Engel was a play on the Roadrunner cartoon where the Wile E. Coyote is the astronauts and the Roadrunner has beat them to the moon. All right. The backup crew spoof patch had a gray beard Wile E. Coyote for Shepard, who was 47 at the time, the oldest man on the moon. Pot-bellied for Mitchell, who had a pudgy appearance, and red-furred for Rose's red hair. All right. And the backup crew put these everywhere. And so when they got into the lunar module, all right, they got into the command module. After the launch, the Apollo 14 crew was barraged with beep-beep patches floating from everywhere in the spacecraft. Every time they opened a compartment out, well, a patch would float out. Rosa found them in the command module. Mitchell found them taped to the lunar module bulkheads. And so here's Rosa talking to Fred Hayes on the Capcom during this incident. Hey, Fredo, did you hear the last comment I made about how clean the spacecraft was? Roger, Stu. Rosa, that was planned, as you know, for all the authorized people who worked on the spacecraft. We're really inundated with unauthorized objects in both spacecraft. I think Ed was showing you one up here on the camera. If you can see this, Rose is holding up a patch to the TV camera. This was live TV, I guess. Yeah, it was a live TV transmission. Rose is holding up a patch and saying, I don't know if any of the backup crew is in there tonight at the Manned Control Center in Houston. But they've left their calling card, Rosa said. And Fred Hayes said, okay, we have a pretty good picture here, Stu, and they're here. And Rosa said, okay, tell them we sure appreciate every compartment that we open up, having one of these things come floating out. And Hayes said, they aim to please. So, according to Cernan, perhaps the most repeated phase on the private radio loop, at Shepard's annoyance, when still another patch would suddenly appear, was, quote, tell Gene Cernan, beep, beep his ass, unquote. So, a lot of space history here, folks, that you never knew about, that we share here on Stay Curious. This is over 50 years has gotten out into the world more than you would think. But if you come across one of these, and it is a real one, and I'm not sure how many there were, but it sounds like there was at least more than a couple dozen. They go for $300, $400, $500 all day long, and the regular crew patches of Apollo 14 can go that too. So we've seen up to $900 maybe for the beep beep patch. So that's a little bit of space history here for Apollo 14, leaving the moon today 53 years ago. Then Apollo 15, 16, and 17 really did the science with the lunar rover on board. But we learned so much. This was really the first scientific mission to the moon, where they had a little cart that they carried with experiments and tools in it called the rickshaw. Here is the Kitty Hawk command module as it sits right now about 12 miles away from where Marty and I sit in the American Space Museum. It is out there at Kennedy Space Center in that fabulous Saturn V complex. Well, we love celebrating our astronauts, our shuttle astronauts particularly, over 300 of them in communities all over America, doing great things to promote STEAM education and keep their memory alive, as we well should. So we've singled out 9 shuttles of the month. Here, let me get where's my notes on that? Oh, here we are. 11 flights in the month of February. Every orbiter flew in the month of February. OV-104, orbital vehicle, tail number 104, which is Endeavour, flew the most, 4. Usually it's rare that Discovery doesn't have the most because it flew the most. Discovery has 4 flights, OV-103, Endeavour 3, Atlantis 2, and Columbia and Challenger each 1 flight of the 11 flights in the month of February. We have 67 people flew in space. Janice Voss flew twice in the month of February, and she passed away some years ago of cancer. You had the first untethered spacewalk on 41B. 3 missions launched on February 3rd. Not, of course, years apart. I don't have the years on this, but I need to revise this display for that. The first Mir rendezvous was STS-63 that we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes as we have an astronaut we're going to celebrate on there. 63 was also the flight where Eileen Collins had her first pilot seat on there. The last International Space Station hardware was installed in February. It's the cupola on STS-130. That had been in 2010. Our friend Kay Heyer, who we hope to get on the show, was involved there. Look at the patch. Looks like the cupola looking out the window. And you had the second upgrade of the Hubble Space Telescope, STS-82, shown there in the middle on the right. So let's feature 2 of these missions as we celebrate Black History Month in America here at the American Space Museum. We will have a complete show about our African American astronauts, I think number 16 or 17 now in history. But here, we're going to feature a couple here that I know you'll may know. I'm looking for my shuttle book, Marty. There it is. No, don't have it there. So I'm not going to tell you about the patches. I tell you, don't panic, is what I'm trying to do here. Of course, our first astronauts that were African American, Ron McNair, Guy Bluford, and Fred Gregory, shown there. Guy Bluford, of course, the first African American to go to space, did it 3 times. Ron McNair had 1 flight before he lost his life in the Challenger accident. And then, of course, Fred Gregory, a commander and a pilot of 2 shuttle missions. So, but we wanted to feature Bernard Harris. Bernard Harris was on STS-63, flown in the month of February, launched on February 3rd. There is the patch of it. Of course, it shows the shuttle rendezvousing with the Mir space station. It did not dock, but Commander Jim Weatherby and pilot Eileen Collins practiced all the maneuvers necessary. Again, prudence, because they didn't know about how the environment would react, electrical things going on that you don't see, and so forth and so on. And a Russian astronaut went up there with them, Titov. First fly around to the space station. They had Space Hab in the payload bay. Foale and Harris began an EVA at the arm. All right. And Harris was the first African American to walk in space. And so let's talk a little bit about Bernard Harris here. Bernard Harris was born in Temple, Texas, June 26, 1956. So he's looking at 68 years old this year. This was his second flight. His first was STS-55 in 1993. He retired after this flight, having 18 days in space. A medical doctor, Bernard Harris, has his doctorate degree from Texas Tech University, and he completed residency at the Mayo Clinic. He founded the Harris Foundation, a Texas-based nonprofit organization whose mission statement is, quote, to invest in community-based initiatives to support education, health, and welfare. The Harris Foundation supports programs that empower individuals, in particular minorities and other economically or socially disadvantaged, to recognize their potential and pursue their dreams. And he loves saying that we need to prepare our kids now for jobs that don't exist today. That's a pretty cool thought, huh, Marty? You had a job that didn't exist when you were a kid, and that's what the space business is all about. So, great picture of Bernard Harris there. We would love to see you at the Astronaut Encounters at Kennedy Space Center. Another mission of the month of February is STS-98. This was an assembly mission taking Destiny up there, as this patch shows there. The red, white, and blue stars and stripes emphasized there. This kind of looks to me like the Steal Your Face Grateful Dead artwork. Those of you that know the Grateful Dead know what I'm talking about. But there you had Commander Cockrell and Polanski, and Marcia Ivins is on this, our astronaut, and is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. 13-day mission launched February 7th. This had 3 extravehicular activities, and one of them included Robert Kerbeam, African American on this. This is one of the promotional posters that astronauts would do, particularly the last third of the shuttle era, where they would mimic a theme or something going on in movies or something like this. So they were street thugs, and they're thinking, think safety, you got a problem with that? And that is Tom Jones on the right-hand side. We had Tom in our studio here to talk about this. He said, we understood there was a little blowback maybe from executives that thought this was kind of too punkish for the classiness of NASA. And Tom Jones said, hey, we had fun with it, okay? That's their problem if they didn't like it. There's Marcia on the left-hand corner there, and Robert Kerbeam there on the left. And in the middle is Ken Cockrell. He was the pilot, he was the commander, Ken Cockrell, and they're in the middle. And Mark Polanski, soon to be a commander, is the other astronaut there. So quite a mission. They attached the Destiny Space Lab that's still in use. When you see a lot of the NASA astronauts doing public service announcements to schools and stuff, they're in the Destiny Lab. So we want to let you know a little bit about Kirby. Here's his nickname, of course. Robert Lee Kerbeam was born March 5th, 1962 in Baltimore, Maryland, or Baltimore County, Maryland, all right. Also where Marcia was from, so they had a lot in common on that mission. He's a Navy man, born in 1962, so he's looking at being 62 this year. On March 5th. 3 space flights for Bob Kerbeam. There's a photo for the ladies. Pretty well fit man there. Of course, you have to be a spacewalker. 37 days in space. Robert Kerbeam has done 7 spacewalks for 45 hours in space. How about that? He was on STS-85 in 97, 98 that we're talking about today in 2001. And then he went back up in 5 years later on a hard hat mission, performing an unexpected 4th EVA to aid in the retraction of a solar panel. He became the first person to perform 4 spacewalks on a single mission. So how about that? He works for Northrop Grumman Innovation Systems as a Senior Director of Business Development. There he is, looking the business profile there. Robert Kirby, an astronaut that we love celebrating here on Black History Month in America. And finally, we will share our Black History Month with Stephanie Wilson. Stephanie did not have a mission in the month of February, but she's a very unique individual there. The most experienced female astronaut, the third oldest. She's not a spacewalker. I'm not sure what that most experienced female means, because there's a couple that have been up there longer than her. She was born September 27th, 1966. Oh, there she is. Where is she? Where is she, Marty? Well, she's an Artemis astronaut. She, I think, will probably be a commander or work on the Gateway. All right. So she's right now going to be, 56 years old. So she'll be 58 or 59. She gets back up in space on the Artemis program. Her 42 days in space are the most of any female African-American astronaut. Her father was an electrical engineer. She went to Harvard and University of Texas. And she's talked at the commencement at Harvard. That's a cool gig to get. Worked for Martin Marietta in Denver as a loads and dynamics engineer for the Titan IV rocket. There she is in space. 3 flights, flew as a mission specialist on 121 Discovery, then 120 that delivered the Harmony node to the International Space Station. And then 3 years later, in 2010, she was on 131 and flew the robotics arm controlled on that. And she was the ground controller at Houston for the first all-woman spacewalk by Christina Cook and Jessica Meir. And so really cool about Stephanie here, and as we celebrate this beautiful picture of her official Artemis photograph that they took of all the Artemis astronauts. And there's 18 Artemis astronauts, 9 of them are female. But this is a beautiful work of art that was done. I'm looking at the year this was done. Celebrating the United Nations International Day of the Girl Child. This was a park in Georgia. The earthwork portrait in Atlanta, Georgia is almost 500 square feet. You can see it's quite large there. The building's on the left. This earthwork is a piece of eco-friendly artwork created by crop artist Stan Hurd out of grass in an open field in Woodruff Park in downtown Atlanta. So you Atlanteans know Woodruff Park. And it depicts Wilson in her helmet. And it's framed by 1,500 tiles of space art made by children from 14 public schools and 3 hospitals in Atlanta. And this was to inspire women and girls, especially people of color, to aim higher as they pursue their dreams. Beautiful, beautiful. So that is our 3 African-American astronauts that we celebrate today on February Black History Month. Hope that you all enjoy that. Got one little slide to show you there. Dave Stange. Hope that you're riding along there with Starman with me there. Hey, I'm filling up his drink here in the cup holder for him, okay? Steve Jokums, thank you for supporting Stay Curious. Doug Forrest in Los Angeles. Gary Gerald in Georgia. We've got, McKinley and Macy are watching. Well, hello there, my daughter. And my 2 grandchildren there. Jessica, thank you for watching. So stay curious, kids, and this is your dream someday, maybe. Tom Usiak's watching. Cynthia Rossi, Carlton Bailey, Cliff Watson in Pomona, Australia, enjoying midsummer there. Neil 1030, always think of Neil Young, rocking in the free world when you pop up there, Neil 1030. Bill Whiting, enjoyed dinner with you last night. We'll tell you who in a minute, because after I say hi to Tom Celentano. Yes, Bill Whiting. We were with Tammy Miller, Connie McDaniel, Marty. We had Sour Grapes with us, Anita. Had dinner with astronaut Charlie Walker last night, and always enjoy Charlie's company. I think he enjoys us as much as we enjoy him, Marty, because we're not real sycophants. We just enjoy buying an astronaut a meal every once in a while. And yes, we did tape a show with Charlie Charlie Walker. Got Stephanie Wilson on my mind. And we're going to show that at a future date. We haven't figured out when we're going to show it. I'd like to show it this week to you. But Charlie talked about the Association of Space Explorers that he's an esteemed member of. And they give the accurate count of 611 human beings have orbited the Earth. And that is so Charlie Walker, we appreciate you, and we'll be talking about you. You're going to see that reprise of Stay Curious to give me a break to mostly clean up my studio here instead of doing a show. But there, go ahead and make that bigger there, Marty, as we show you what impressed Charlie Walker when I put this slide up in our interview was 9 countries are represented there in the upper right-hand corner. 9 nations have human beings orbiting the Earth. China has 3. We have got the other 11 of the 14 orbiting the Earth right now on the International Space Station. Yes, the Axiom 3 crew has been, again, postponed to come back tonight. They'll come back. We're not sure when they'll come by. Yeah, Marty, that's an excellent note there. Think about who you would nominate for the Nobel Peace Prize, okay? And Charlie Walker said that there is some movement afoot to nominate the International Space Station as the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, how appropriate, okay? As we all know, it's the only place on Earth where 9 nations of people can get along. Right there they are, okay? In there, China, Japanese, Denmark, Russia, Turkey, Italia, Italy, Brazil, Canada and Spain represented. Spain is represented by Michael Lopez Allegra there on the far right. The Axiom crew are there in their black shirts. Lopez Allegra is an American citizen. He's a dual Spaniard because he was born in Spain. And you have the Expedition 70 crew there in the back. Those are International Space Station astronauts represent 3 spaceships that they came up in. Crew Dragon, a Soyuz of the Russia, and another Crew Dragon that is the Crew 6 crew, or no, Crew 7, I mean. Right, Marty? Yeah, he's holding up his fingers there. Yep. And then, of course, you've got the Takyonauts on the Russian Tangong space station. So,
Chinese.
Pardon me?
Chinese space
Yeah,
station.
what'd I say?
Russian.
Oh, Russians. Yeah, Chinese up there. Thank you, Marty. But isn't it amazing, folks? And ponder that thought that the Nobel Committee would nominate and award the Nobel Peace Prize to the International Space Station. 25 years it's been orbiting Earth, constantly occupied for over 22 years by Russia or Americans are always up there. And they live in peace and harmony, doing their job for the benefit of humankind. So, Nobel Peace Prize. Let's wage a Stay Curious contest over that. So, well, thank you all for watching today. Marty, anything else come in there? Thank you for that note.
Nope, we're good.
Well, your LEM number 8's coming back to Earth. Well, it actually's crashed into the moon. It'll never come back to Earth. We've got Kitty Hawk coming back to Earth in space history 53 years ago. Please think about that. We do every day, and we enjoy our Space View Park just a few blocks from our museum where we honor the Apollo astronauts, Gemini and Mercury, with their handprints in actual bronze. The only place in the world you can put your handprints on Gene Cernan. So you want to come and visit us for that and come see our fabulous museum like we had over 50 Brit Brit students here from the United Kingdom. So until next time, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us.